So in a third session, we'll discuss Piaget's theory in detail. Now, Piaget is known for theory of intelligence development. His theory is also called as theory of cognitive development. Our entire education system, in fact, the learning of human being is more or less based on Piaget's theory. At what age, what you can learn, and what age you can't learn something, that is prescribed by the Piaget, and accordingly, our education is system developed from Europe, America, and then it is percolated in Asia, Asian countries. In lifespan, what is more important for all of you, that you have to understand that in each lifespan, some psychological factors or some factors of your mindset will be appropriately learned by a human mind, and if once that period is passed on, and if those factors are not well learned, so it will always remain the limitation in your mind. Started. So, like in childhood, you learn multiple thinking, but in later on, when your thinking becomes focused, rational or real, it is very difficult for individual to go back and think multiply. You can acquire exaggerated thinking, you may think excess, but thinking multiple is really difficult, and that's why multitasking many times become a difficult skill to acquire. So anyway, without wasting much of the time, I will show you one video that explains you Piaget's theory of cognition development in short, and then we'll understand these words like what is impulse, what is reflex action, what are schemas, what is called as object permanence, what is called as animism, what is called as neo-egocentrism, what will be called as assimilation, accommodation, conservation. I think this is our third session. We have not covered this. In second session, we have learned about Ericsson's theory. So just watch this YouTube video which explains you Piaget's theory in short.
Have you noticed that work is never ending? And the harder you work, the harder you are expected to work. The best way to create progress in your...
Piaget's theory argues that we have to conquer 4 stages of cognitive development. First, the sensory motor stage. Second, the pre-operational stage. Third, the concrete operational stage. And fourth, the formal operational stage. Only once we have gone through all the stages, at what age can vary, we are able to reach full human intelligence. 1. The sensory motor stage. Ages birth.
A voice is clear to you?
2 rows of quarters.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I will restart it.
Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or are they the same?
The same.
The same? Okay, now watch.
Piaget's theory argues that we have to conquer 4 stages of cognitive development. First, the sensory motor stage. Second, the pre-operational stage. Third, the concrete operational stage. And fourth, the formal operational stage. Only once we have gone through all the stages, at what age can vary, we are able to reach full human intelligence. 1. The sensory motor stage, ages birth to 2. In the sensory motor stage, we develop through experiences and movement our 5 senses. Our brain wants to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch as much as possible. First, we start with simple reflexes, and soon after, we develop our first habits. From 4 months old, we become aware of things beyond our own body, and then as we get older, we learn to do things intentionally. A key milestone is the development of working memory, or in Piaget terms, our realization of object permanence. Before that, our mum could show and then hide a teddy, and we would think it's gone. After, we understand that objects continue to exist, even when we can't see them. We start becoming curious about everything. We want to smell flowers, taste food, listen to sounds, and talk to strangers. To explore more, we move. We learn to sit, crawl, stand, walk, and even to run. This increased physical mobility consequently leads to increased cognitive development. But we remain egocentric, meaning we can perceive the world only from our own point of view. 2. The pre-operational stage, ages 2 to 7. Our thinking is mainly categorized through symbolic functions and intuitive thoughts. We have lots of fantasies and believe objects are alive. As we are not able to apply specific cognitive operations, Piaget calls this stage pre-operational. We learn to speak and understand that words, images, and gestures are symbols for something else. When we draw our family, we are not concerned about drawing each person to scale, but rather with their symbolic meanings. We love to play pretend, which allows us to experience something new and learn a lot. At around age 4, most of us become very curious and ask many questions. We want to know everything. We can call it the birth of primitive reasoning. Piaget calls it the intuitive age, because while we realize that we have a vast amount of knowledge, we have no idea how we acquired it. Our thinking in this stage is still pretty egocentric. We think others see the world like we do, and still don't understand that they see it differently. 3. The concrete operational stage, ages 7 to 11. We finally discover logic, and we develop concrete cognitive operations, such as sorting objects in a certain order. One example of this is inductive reasoning, which means that if we see someone eating a cookie, we can draw a conclusion and then make a generalization. And we now get the concept of conservation. We understand that if we pour orange juice from a normal glass to a taller one, the amount stays the same. Our younger sister will pick the taller glass, thinking she gets more. By the same logic, we only now can understand that if 3 plus 5 equals 8, then 8 minus 3 must equal 5. Our brain learns to rearrange our thoughts, to classify and build concrete operational mental structures. For example, we now know that we can reverse an action by doing the opposite. Excited by our new mental abilities, we apply them in conversations, activities, when we learn to write, and in school. As a result, we get to know ourselves better. We begin to understand that our thoughts and feelings are unique and not necessarily those of others. That means that we learn to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. 4. The formal operational stage, age 12 plus. Once we become teenagers, we become formally operational. We now have the ability to think more rationally about abstract concepts and hypothetical events. Our advanced cognitive abilities allow us to understand abstract concepts such as success and failure, love and hate. We form a deeper understanding of our own identity and our morality. We now also think that we understand why people behave the way they behave, and as a result, can become more compassionate. Our brain can now do deductive reasoning, which means we can compare two statements and reach a logical generalization. Our new mental skills allow us to plan our life systematically and prioritize, and we can make assumptions about events that have no necessary relation to reality. We can now also philosophize and just think about thinking itself. Our new sense for our identity now also creates egocentric thoughts, and some start to see an imaginary audience watching them all the time. Piaget believed in lifelong learning, but insisted that the formal operational stage is the final stage of our cognitive development. Jean Piaget's first interests were animals, and he published his first scientific paper on albino sparrows in 1907, when he was just 11 years old. In 1920, he began working with standardized intelligence tests. He realized that younger children consistently make types of mistakes that older children do not. He concluded that they must think differently, and spent the rest of his life studying the intellectual development of children.
So this is Piaget's theory. You can go on my YouTube and you can see it is explained in different word also. Now, some important words referred in Piaget's theory. I am just discussing it with all of you. An impulse. An impulse is a sudden and urgent urge to be fulfilled immediately. So normally in the infancy stage, particularly before the 6 months of age, the infant's behavior is more impulsive and governed by reflexes. So what is a reflex? A reflex is an instinctive and nearly direct movement in response to a stimulus. Means as the urge of the hunger will aroused, the baby wants immediately the mother's nipple in the mouth to suck the milk. So sucking and grasping are two early premature reflexes in infancy. What is a reflex action? Reflex action which can act on impulse before that impulse reaches to brain. It is too technical and too scientific. It means you take an action before you think or feel it. Sometimes you can say that you feel it and you take the action, but you don't think on it. For example, like you have a fire and you don't know that the fire is on the left side. So, and your hand unknowingly goes towards the fire. The moment you feel the hot, you pull your hand from the fire. There are so many reflex actions we continue to take in our day-to-day life. Schemas. Schemas are groups of information helps to interpret stimuli around the child. Now, schemas are developed in our brain. You can say schemas are developed in our mind. Nowadays, more scientific word is used, and that scientific word is neural network. The network of neurons, or you can say the network of groups of neurons. So one group can represent a schema. Object permanence. This is the ability of an infant to understand about objects and animals, that they are present in this world even though it is not visible and even it is not seen by him. It means, I think by the age of 15, 16 or up to 20, you might have not seen the tiger because you have not went to jungle safari. But looking at the picture of tiger and by acquiring knowledge about the tiger's hunting style, the fear will be developed in your mind before you see the tiger. That is the phenomena called as object permanence. Like in a nursery, probably before going to nursery, you have not tasted some food which is available abroad, because you have not gone to abroad, so you have not tasted it. But if somebody will tell you the description of the food, the taste and the smelling sense will be developed in your mind. So when you will go to abroad, you can identify, this is the food which I have learned in my childhood. That phenomena is called as object permanence. Now, animism. Animism is children's understanding about the inanimate objects, that they are alive. They are having the same feeling as the living animal has. You can observe some of the boys and girls before the age of 6, they are highly associated with their dolls, their Nandi Bail, or whichever the dead object they handle with their game, not computer game, the game which like a train or the Ghoda Gadi. So these type of toys are given to the boys, and what they feel that these dead objects are also having the same feeling as the living animal. That phenomena is called animism, but later on, after 4 or 5 years, the child can understand these are the dead objects. But in early ages, that understanding does not exist, and that phenomena is animism. Now, decentration. These are all phenomena discussed in Piaget's theory. So I am explaining you one by one. Further, you can read it in the book. It involves the ability to pay attention to multiple attributes of an object or situation rather than being locked into attending only a single attribute. Now, decentration is normally begins in the early childhood, the age of 3 to 5. After 5 years, decentration can be strongly observed in a boy or a boy child or a girl child. Now, they before 3 years, they may be focusing on the single character of anything which they understand and they know. The second character they don't understand. For example, a child of 2.5 years of age cannot understand that mummy has to cook and feed others also. So he only understands that mummy is for him and for his feeding, for taking his care. But after 2.5 years, or maybe after 2 years, or maybe after 3 years, he understands that mummy has more than one job. Mummy has to cook also. Mummy has to take own personal cares. That is appropriately understood means decentration phenomena is acquired. Now conservation. Basic properties of objects such as their mass, quantity stays the same even though their onward appearance may change. Means for example, if there is a 1 kg of clay which is in a round shape, so if you put the entire clay into square shape or a rectangle shape, so shape is changed. That does not mean the basic properties of the clay has changed. It is only the change of shape. So basic properties remains same, and basic properties is weight or the quantity of the clay, that remains same. That is the phenomena of conservation. If you want to understand this conservation phenomena, you can do one experiment. You take 6 inch by 6 inch by 6 inch a wooden thokla, and you call carpenter and ask him to peel it. So there will be thousands of the peeled pieces will be available with you. Now you put it into one plastic bag and you have another thoka of same size, and then compare the peeled wood is equal to the 6 by 6 by 6 thoka, that is equal. If you understand it, so conservation ability is acquired by you. Many people, even at the adulthood age, get confused because of conservation ability. Some might develop poor conservation ability, and that is why many times in different situation, when they compare, their comparisons are faulty. Like two sisters married, one sister married in 2015 and second married in 2020. So if both the sisters start comparing their own marriages, the marriage ceremony, the event which has take place, so only difference and particularly negative aspect will be identified by one sister, and she may claim the father that you have not given attention or you have not spent as much as money which was spent in younger sister's marriage. That may be true, but it is a failure of a conservation. Marriage is marriage, and all necessary phenomena, all necessary rituals has been performed appropriately. That must be understood to the second lady, to the first lady or second lady, means the phenomenon of conservation is appropriately acquired. So you can see phenomena of conservation. Because of faulty conservation, lots of issues occurs in our life. Now reciprocity. A change in one dimension necessitates change in another dimension. So if you change the length of if you change the length of some object which is flexible, say for example, you have a ball filled with air, and if you fill the ball, if you press the ball, a circular ball will become eclipse. Now understanding that the eclipse and the circular ball is as same, It is same. There is no difference. But the change is occurred in one dimension. Because of change in circle, the ellipse is formed. Understanding that is reciprocity. Assimilation is the process of taking a new information into old schema. Now, right from the birth, you are knowingly or unknowingly, you are acquiring many information in your brain, because as the new neuron is developed, it carries some kind of informations. So in early ages, before infancy, most of the nonsense information is there in your brain. Now, when you add new information, in most of the occasions, the old information is replaced by the new one, and that process is called as assimilation. Accommodation involves alteration of old schemas to form a new schema. A schema is a bunch of information. You can simply say a schema is a kind of idea you have in mind. Now, that idea is changed for certain reason. So when the idea is changed, means you have added some information in your brain, you have deleted some information from the existing schema, and a new information bunch is formed. That process is accommodation. Now, adaptation. Process of change to meet situational demand, very strong in childhood. Now, adaptation is always with the change. So from infancy to childhood, and from childhood to adolescence age, and from adolescence age to adulthood, you are continuously adapting with your education system. The way you learn in your school when you was a child, the same way you are not going to learn in your school when you are adolescents. And when you are in college, particularly at late adolescence or early adulthood, the same way you are not going to learn, the way will change. So understanding this kind of change is adapting with the situation. Now, concrete operation, that is conservation of number, substances, length, area, weight, volume, and time. There are 11 to 13 aspects which can be considered as concrete operation, like understanding addition, understanding subtraction, understanding multiplication, division. It is because of the conservation of a number, conservation of substances, length, like you have to understand the difference between 1 meter is equal to 2.5 feet. So that is a operation related to length conserved by the mind. Now, horizontal and vertical decalages. Actually, this is very useful phenomena to understand, particularly for counselors. Horizontal refers to the observation that once a child has the capacity to perform a certain task, they do not know how to immediately apply to the concept to the other task. Means, I will explain by one example. A child understands addition of 1 to 1, that is equal to 2. But if I am giving 1 feet scale and another 1 feet scale, and I'm asking to add these two scales and tell me how much the scale you have. So the boy must be able to tell you that he has a 2 feet scale. 1 feet scale is added to another 1 feet scale. So he is having a 2 feet scale. His answer can be 2 scale also. But if I ask him what length of scale you have now with you. So he has to tell me the 2 feet scale. Now, if he understands 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, but he cannot add one scale to another scale, that is horizontal decalage. Means one concept understood at one place may not be understood when the same concept has to be applied at second place. And again, this kind of horizontal decalages you can find in many of the people, particularly people who are not well developed with formal operations, logic, reasoning, analogy, classification. These are the various phenomena. If these phenomena are not well understood, so likelihood of having horizontal decalage is very common. Now, vertical decalage. What is a vertical decalage? Vertical decalage refers to a child using the same cognitive functions in a different stages across the development. Now, one function is appropriately used in childhood. Say just take the example of a love for mother or love for parent. In a childhood stage, a child loves the mother well, and mother also loves the child very well. Father loves the child, and the child also loves the mother. But as they enter into adolescence age, what is the possibility of understanding this function, the love function, as same? It was there when it is expressed in a different word by the father. For example, in a childhood stage, father is explaining something just by hugging the child, or just by asking him to sit, and he is explaining that how nicely to be behaved with the teacher. That is a simple example I am taking. So father has explained the child how nicely to be behaved as teacher. Now when this child become adolescents, so he complained about the teacher. He complained about the teacher that my teacher are not good. They are not giving me weightage. They are not understanding me properly. And then the father explains him aggressively how to respect a teacher. So first time he has explained in a childhood, he has explained with love, affection. And in adolescence, he has explained the same thing with aggression. Now, if here the adolescent boy carries some kind of anger or some kind of disturbances in mind, means that is a vertical decalage. Gap between what is learned in one lifespan is unlearned in a second lifespan, and then some different thinking might be developed. That is vertical decalage. Now, abstraction. Abstraction is a higher order type of thinking and reasoning. This cognitive process of isolating common characteristics between different things is essential for many higher level forms of thinking. Abstraction is essential for inferring, learning from experiences, and forming judgments. Now, in 3 words, I will explain you the abstraction. Imagination, ideation, and inventability. These are the 3 important components of abstraction. Means you have to learn about to have more and more ideas in your mind. That should be the part of your learning or behavior. Then ideation and imagination and ideation. So based on your imagination, there can be some idea which you should be able to conceive. Some idea you should be able to conceive. And based on this imagination and ideas you have conceived, you should be able to invent something new, which was not known earlier. That process is also abstraction. Development of an abstraction is a formal operation phenomena, and it normally develops after 12 years of age. And abstraction is the most important component of general intelligence. Now, formal operation. Intelligence is demonstrated through use of pure abstraction. This is the period of development of problem-solving ability, decision-making ability, conflict resolution ability, and higher level of reasoning. Now, these abilities you develop by understanding various formal operations and by developing your own intelligence. Means when your abstraction ability develops very well, you will be able to solve difficult problem. You will be able to take decisions. You will be highly creative. You can solve many types of conflict which you have and others have. And you also have higher level of reasoning ability. Now, what is higher level of reasoning ability? That I must tell you. That is called as metacognition function. And metacognition consists of 5 factors. One is planning. Second is implementation. Third is monitoring. Fourth is evaluation, and fifth is control. So these 5 factors are importantly to be developed in your mind. With this factor, I can say that you have acquired the higher level of reasoning. Otherwise, you will be always facing difficulties in managing your own task. And I am just telling you a very common example. Many people have many plans, but none of the plan goes for implementation. And if at least one plan has gone for implementation, it becomes for a person, it becomes very difficult to keep monitoring on those plans and those actions. And if monitoring is appropriately managed, he can't notice the deviations, and he cannot evaluate it properly. Assessment is important. As a result, the control will be lost, and finally, the result will be failure. I must tell you one thing funny. Out of 48 people have taken the admission, I know that only 5 to 6 are going to pass. Only 5 to 6 are going to reach till the end. That is the statistics of psychology student from 2011 to 2022. Only 10% of the student reaches to the last level of internship and project. Many of them, 90% people, quit in between. The reasons are 2, which can be publicly accepted reason. What happens? I have spent only 10 to 15,000 rupees. It is minimal for me. No, that is not the reason. The reason is metacognitive abilities, lacking of metacognitive abilities, lacking of higher level of reasoning. Now at this point of time, anybody can put me personally on bet. आप मुझसे शर्त लगा सकते हैं कि 10% से ज्यादा लोग पास नहीं होंगे. ये मैं बहुत फनीली कह रहा हूं, बट ये कड़वा सच भी है. आप पिछला रिकॉर्ड भी देख सकते हैं. With the higher level of development of formal operations, and adolescents rapidly facilitate on own emotional maturity, social development, and moral development. So as the cognitive development takes place, simultaneously, the development of emotions, social development, and moral development also takes place. that this kind of development is very complex, but for our own purpose, we study it separately. It is simultaneous and continuous. Any doubt in Piaget's theory? If you have, you can ask me the question or I will proceed further.
No, sir, no doubts. But recording or with us?
What you said?
No, sir, we are having no any kind of doubt. But can you share the recording of your teaching, today's class? Can you share this with us?
It is available on my YouTube channel.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thanks a lot.
Last 2 sessions recording is also available on my YouTube channel as it is.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot for this.
So emotional development. Emotional development is impacted by physical health, intellectual capacity, social conditions, and environmental factors. I hope by this time you can understand emotions. Love, trust, autonomy are basic positive emotions referred by Ericsson. Fredrickson in 2009 identified the 10 most common positive emotions. Those are joy, gratitude, serenity, interest, hope, pride, amusement, inspiration, and wonder and love. This much of emotions, if you understand very well, you can become a successful counselor. This is not available here. Negative emotions. Negative emotions are mistrust, shame, and guilt. Common negative emotions referred by psychologists are fear, anger, disgust, sadness, rage, loneliness, melancholy, and annoyance. These are all negative emotions. Positive emotions have genetic orientation, whereas negative emotions enters in our mind from our surrounding, from outside. So remember, positive emotions has genetic orientation, means we have a genes for producing positive emotions in our mind. But unfortunately, throughout our life, we recognize more negatives, and that's why our mind is dominated by negative. Now, once I was reading a record of accidents in India. So somebody told that there are more than people dies in accident, those who have died in Corona. So I estimated that 2.5% of the people died in Corona. So more than Corona death means around say 3%. So 3% people died by and everyone wants to reduce the percentage of accident. Very true. Lots of care has to be taken to reduce accident. Nobody should die in accident. That should be zero tolerance, with the zero tolerance principle. But can someone think that 97% of the people are not meeting with accidents? Can you think 97% of the people are not meeting with accident? So that is positive. I have given a negative example of a positive thinking, but there are many positive examples of a positive thinking. And particularly in WhatsApp group, and I think in Facebook also, you will observe lots of negative comment. But can you appreciate something which is positive side of the same negative information explained to you? Now try to learn to understand the positivity, and for you, advanced positive psychology is also a subject which is newly introduced in your syllabus. Social development. Social development of kids and children takes place through the surrounding parents, peers, teachers, relative, neighbors, and responsible for social development. So social development, all of you can understand, I need not to explain it. Parents, peers, teachers, relatives, and neighbors are responsible for the social development. But I must tell you, we have a complex development phenomena. Our mind is developed socially in family. Our mind is developed socially because of religion. Our mind is also developed socially because of our culture, climate, and community to which you belong. So you understand that in addition to parents, peers, teachers, relatives, and neighbors, your religion, your culture, your rituals, your family are also responsible for development of a social mindset of your mind. Now, social cognition is an important function formed and developed in stages. Salman's role-taking theory explains these stages. Now, Salman's role-taking theory is given in your book somewhere. That's why I have just explaining it to you. I think a big title is not there. A small title is there in the book. Now, what Salman role-taking theory states? Salman states that a boy or girl is egocentric at the age of 3 to 6 years. What is meant by the egocentrism of a boy or girl? They will say my viewpoint only. I don't accept others' viewpoint. What I am saying correct. बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल आप देख सकते हैं। 4 साल के बच्चे ने 4.5 साल के बच्चे को एक झापड़ मार दी। क्यों झापड़ मारी, इसका एक्सप्लेनेशन वो दे देगा और वो यही कहेगा कि मैं ही सही हूं। वो कभी नहीं मानेगा कि दूसरा बच्चा भी सही हो सकता है। इनफैक्ट 4.5 साल के बच्चे ने उसको दूसरी एक झापड़ मार दी। वो तो बड़ा था उससे, इसने एक मारी, उसने भी एक मार दी। लेकिन पहला बच्चा हमेशा यही बोलेगा कि मैं ही सही हूं, उसने मुझे गलती से मारा। और बड़ा बच्चा ये बोलेगा इसने मेरे को पहले मारा, इसलिए मैंने भी उसको मारा। बट कोई भी अपनी ये नहीं सोचेगा इस वक्त कि मैंने जब इसे मारा तो हो सकता है मेरी भी कोई गलती हो, मैंने नहीं मारना चाहिए था, या उसने मुझे मारा तो उसका कोई कारण है। जब बड़े बच्चे ने छोटे बच्चे को एक झापड़ मारी तो इसका सिंपल कारण है क्योंकि इसने पहले उसको एक झापड़ मारी। लेकिन ये कारण उस बच्चे को नहीं समझेगा। दैट इज Salman's egocentric role. So this role is normally visible in 3 to 6 years of lifespan. Subjective role. Understand others have viewpoint. Now बच्चे बड़े हो जाते हैं, 6 से 8 साल के हो जाते हैं, तो वो थोड़े समझदार हो जाते हैं. And then they take the subjective role, but again restricted to family members. What is the role of the younger brother or the elder brother is well understood, and then they do some kind of adjustment within the family, but probably similar adjustment has to be taught in school. If the similar adjustment has to be done in school, means I will give you a small example. A tiffin box is given by the mother, and that day somehow, because of heavy rains, a boy of 7 years old, he could not go to school. Now his tiffin is ready and his elder brother comes to home. He is also hungry. The food is not available in kitchen or freeze. So this younger brother, who is of 7 years old, can share his tiffin with the elder brother who is of 10 years old. That is subjective role. But if it is not share, means subjective role is not well developed. He is still in egocentric role. Self-reflective role, 8 to 10 years, infers others' view also. So 6 to 8 years they understand, but they may not accept. But as their age increases and they enters into 10 to 12 years of age, they can switch to others' viewpoint also. Means when they understand that my viewpoint is incorrect, so they accepts the others' viewpoint as correct and they follow it, they take actions on the others' viewpoint. Societal role taking. This is 12 to 15 and 15 plus, means 15 onward. Understand, analyze and accept others' viewpoint, but stay with you follow your views, I will follow mine. If you want to observe this phenomena, nowadays you can easily observe. You move to Bajaj Nagar Square or you move to Shankar Nagar Square early morning or Bajaj Nagar Square in the evening, or you go to any place where girls smokes the cigarette and you ask a question, don't you feel that it is dangerous for your health? You ask the question to that girl. You can ask the question to the boys also. Don't you feel that this smoking of cigarette is dangerous to your health? So their answer will be, it is my problem, it is not your problem. You do your business, I will do my business. Some people will say politely, yes, I understand, but I like it. Some people may say, this is none of your business. Some people may become angry. Some people may accept, but that is the age, 15 plus years, when the viewpoint is you follow your views and I will follow mine. Normally, it is not fully developed in that age. It develops after 18, 20 years. After 20 years, particularly a young adult, can be having this kind of view. I have heard such answers from young adults. That's why I have given the example. Now, Piaget's moral development. Heteronomous morality. Now again, this is a theory of Piaget's moral development. So Piaget has also given his theory. His theory is not complete, but some meaningful aspects are explained by Piaget. He has given two concepts, that is heteronomous morality and autonomous morality. These are the two concepts given to us by Piaget. What is heteronomous morality? That is also called as moral realism. And this moral realism can be experienced by a child at the age of 5 to 9, particularly in middle and late childhood. Morality is imposed from the outside. Children regards morality as obeying the people's rules and law, which cannot be changed. Authorities are responsible to make rules and they decide the punishment followed by the bad behavior. So 5 to 9 years of childhood age that make a child realize that any behavior which is not socially acceptable is punishable. And that's why such behavior are diminished or not followed by them. Such behavior are not enforced by them and they avoid such behavior. So in other words, the moral is developed in their mind about the bad behavior and the good behavior. But this development is with the understanding of that the society needs to follow certain law, the family has certain rules, the family has certain rituals. Just for example, take the puja. There is some puja. Puja means prayer, or you have some function and some traditional puja is performed. Normally, a boy or a girl habituated to have to wear a dress which is particularly banyan and a short pant. The grandmother shouts on that occasion and she says, go, 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 change the dress. So otherwise she expresses the anger. So anger itself is a matter of punishment. And then normally in next puja, at the next ritual, the boy or girl will well dress and then come. So this morality is well understood at the age of 5 to 9. And that is called as moral realism by the Piaget. Then autonomous morality, 9 to 10 years and onward also. Morality based on your own rules. Children recognize there is no absolute right or wrong, and that the morality depends on intention and not on consequences. So same child, after the age of 10, may question the grandmother or the mother or the father. What is the problem? I am wearing a dress. So he decides that, or he show his intention about. So prayer will continue, your rituals will continue. My dress has no intervention to the prayer. It is not intervening factor. I am sitting with the dress I am comfortable with. That way, the answer can be given or intention of that type can be shown. थोड़े बाहर गए 15 मिनट में आ रहे. That is autonomous morality. Autonomous morality can be observed after the age of 14. It can be easily observed, but it begins at the age of 10. So that is Piaget's moral development. These two important concepts are given by Piaget. Now then Kohlberg's theory of moral development, how morals developed, that is explained by Kohlberg. So it is 6 stages model and 3 aspects, 3 levels. First level is pre-conventional, second level is conventional, and third level is post-conventional. And each level has 2 stages. Again, is or this or that. Like stage 1 to 9 years of age, morals are formed on the basis of punishment. So whatever punishment is received in the family, the morals will be developed accordingly. If boy or girl is punished for not using the money appropriately or adequately, if it is misused, so the boy or girl will carry the understanding that misuse of money is not tolerated, and that moral will continue even in later period also. Now this is called as obedience orientation. The second is morals are formed on the basis of individualism. Now if no punishment is given to such boy, so understanding will develop that wastage of money has no issue. My father has enough money and I can waste it. That is exchange orientation. Morals are formed on the basis of individualism because his individual attitude will be, he has not received the punishment for wasting the money. So he will feel whether parent has enough money or not, that is not an issue, but he will feel that my parent has enough money. In fact, later on, he will develop the attitude of wasting the money unnecessarily. Then conventional stage, 10 to 20 years of age, morals are matured and on the basis of good interpersonal relationship. So whatever will be the type of morals formed and grown in age of 1 to 9 years can be changed in the next level, but the change has to be by establishing interpersonal relationship with either with the family member or with the teachers, peers, or neighbors, because these people are in the surrounding of the boy or the girl. So the behavior of the peer, behavior of the teacher, behavior of the father, behavior of the mother will change the moral, and this moral change of morality will be based on interpersonal relationship. Just take the same example. Wastage of money is punishable. So I will not waste the money. That moral is formed. But friends are important to me. And I will give parties. Whatever money I have, I will spend it. So I will give party to my friend. That way the moral can be replaced in the age of 10 to 20. Now, I can waste the wastage of money is tolerated by parent at the age of 1 to 9. So at the age of 10 to 20, he can realize that the money is important. Money has to be saved. And he may start the habit of using money appropriately or saving money appropriately. But there is an intervening factor to cause this kind of mindset, and that intervention will be introduced by family members, teachers, or peers. Then stage 4. Morals are matured on the basis on the need of maintaining social order and rules of society. Means In society, the person of the age of 20 to 20 years do lots of observation. On the basis of observation, he determines to what extent money has to be used for friends, to what extent the money can be used for paying the fees, to what extent the money can be used for satisfying the hunger, how much money can be spent on hoteling, how much money can be spent on travel, how much money can be spent for adventure, how much money has to be given for coaching or learning, teaching, etc. Now, if it is well understood, because this understanding is developed knowingly or unknowingly when he observes so many things happening around him, means he understands the social order, he understands the rules in the society, and accordingly he shape up the moral. What moral will be formed, that I can't guarantee. That depends on how his mind accept it, and second, what is the type of surrounding he has. Post-conventional stage, now this is a stage of adult age. Morals are after 20 years. Morals are developed on the basis of situation of social contract and individual rights. Or morals are developed on the basis of own accepted universal principle. Two things. So, I got the job. I must do job the honestly. I am getting salary. So I should give the service. This is a social contract. Many of social contracts are unwritten. Rather, in our life, we do go through 99% of unwritten social contract. Or we act on the basis of individual rights. Nothing is in writing. Maximum issues are handled on the basis of social contracts which are unwritten or on the basis of individual rights. I hope you can understand this. All of you are matured people. Morals are developed on the basis of own accepted universal principle. This is rarer, but this moral is actually required. You have to accept on your own what are my values. What are my values? What are my principles of living life? How do I should earn money? By serving my knowledge and skill to others, or by exploiting and exploring the situation. But now I look at around. Now you can see that what has happened in Bengal. 52 crores of 52,000 or 52 crores. No, 52,000 crores. Sir, 52,000 crores. है ना? Bengal में जो cash पकड़ा 52,000 crores, not 52 crores. 52 crores is very small. 52,000 crores are caught. What is the life of that man and what is the life of that lady now? So this simple thing does not understood. So what morals was developed right from the child, that money is everything. That moral was developed, and that was a wrong moral set in the mind right from the childhood. And that's why this kind of incident took place. Problem with the Kohlberg's methods and theory. There are some problem discussed in your book. That is, this is artificial and hypothetical. Dilemmas were presented to respondent. Sample is biased, not a single female was included. That is the biggest drawback of this Kohlberg's theory. No female was there. Cross-sectional research design was used, hence results are considered as poor. Cross-sectional sample was taken. What is cross-sectional? I have already explained you earlier. Stage model is questionable. There is a difference between moral judgment and moral behavior across lifespan. Kohlberg claimed that the moral reasoning of male has been often in advance of that female. Gilligan is claiming that there is a sex bias in Kohlberg's theory. He neglects the feminine voice of compassion, love, and non-violence, which is associated with the socialization of the girl. In fact, one more voice is recognized, and that is sacrifice. Female has the best power in herself, and that is sacrifice. So these are the problems discussed with Kohlberg's theory, Kohlberg's method and his theory. But even after that, you can take a signal from what is happening around you. There is some value can be given to Kohlberg's theory. Now, Russell, cultivation of intelligence is the major purpose of education. This is schooling and lifespan development. Now, Russell has said cultivation of intelligence is the major purpose of the education. Now, I must tell you purpose of the two country, what is told by Russell, that is true. Cultivation of intelligence is the major purpose of the education. But now Indian government has given a new education policy. The new education policy has its purpose, its aim as making 50% Indian population literate by 2030. Now you compare it with the USA education policy. The USA education policy clearly states that they want to create the individuals in America which can rule the mindset of people around the world, all around the world. Means they want to develop the finest brain in America. That is their education policy. और थोड़ा डिटेल में जाइएगा, मैं बहुत क्लियरली और से नहीं बता पा रहा हूं क्योंकि समय की कमी है, बट आप ये दोनों एजुकेशन पॉलिसी को स्टडी कीजिएगा और आइडेंटिफाई कीजिएगा कि व्हाट इज द गैप. That will tell you our government stance on education. Dewey, he is an American education expert, psychologist, advised to recognize the instinct and nurture in the school. So he said that language, constructive instinct, investigation instinct, and expressive instinct has to be identified. And what is happening in our school? Our schools, teachers, and the entire education system is only behind obtaining better score. What is happening to development of intelligence? What is happening to literacy level? What is happening to imparting knowledge? Is it happening, or it is only a race of getting good scores? That you have to think a lot. Schools are there for development of reading, writing, speaking, math and reasoning skills. And nowadays computer skills also. The skills are continuously improved in school through exchange of information between student and teacher. When you will come to counseling psychology next year, you will get details of this. What kind of abnormalities is developing in school and what kind of counselors are now required in schools to handle those abnormalities. Value education is given in school to develop vitality, courage, social sensitivity, and intelligence. Now, vitality means physical and mental strength. Courage means strength to face pain or grief. Means managing stress. Strength to face pain or grief. Social sensitivity, personal ability to perceive, to understand, and respect the feeling and the viewpoint of others. I will give you one example about social sensitivity. I will give you one example of social sensitivity. Now in UK, Rishi, what is his name? Sonak, Rishi Sonak. He is likely to become Prime Minister of UK. He is basically has Indian origin. He is Hindu. Last chapter. Now, to take a oath, he took Bhagavad Gita and he proudly declared that though he is a national of UK, Great Britain, he has his roots in India, and by root, he is a Hindu. Now just imagine what would have been happened here in India if somebody has used Bible and if he would have taken the faith saying that though I am Indian, but since I am born in Italy, I recognized my roots in Italy. So that is the difference of social sensitivity. And why I am insisting on this point, because social sensitivity is day by day diminishing. Social sensitivity is almost going to be not zero, but it is going to at very poor level. And in future, many counselors are required in school, colleges, family. I have one article in which it is clearly stated that in future by 2030, one family will require one counselor. Now it is up to the system that whether the counselor will be developed in schools, colleges, or by doing MA psychology, or within the family counselor can be developed. And it was there in earlier days. 200 years ago or 300 years ago, a counselor was there in Indian families. Dada, Dadi, Nana, Nani, they were the counselors. Now we are missing them. So probably it is a good scope for people, those who are doing MA in psychology, they can become a good counselor in future. How much business you will procure, that I can't guarantee you. That is social sensitivity. Intelligence, you understand. Value education, you understand. Again, I have my own doubts on value education. What value to be inculcated? I personally feel that right from the childhood, the person too should be taught political values, which are missing. In emotional intelligence test, which is constructed by Goldman, politricking or political tricks is one factor of assessment of level of emotional intelligence. And I have conducted almost more than 2000 EQ tests on school student and college student in various training program. Even I have conducted emotional intelligence, I have calculated emotional intelligence quotient of tribals, Adivasi school students. So my observation is that two factors are severely lacking in Indian youth. One is polytricking, means playing small tricks for success, and second is taking initiative. These two factors are strongly lacking. You just check off yourself. Even many of students later on contacts me, sir आपसे सीखना है, तो मैं कहता हूँ आ जाओ मेरे ऑफिस में, आ जाओ सीखना है तो। मैं यहाँ रहता हूँ सुबह 10 बजे से 1 बजे तक और शाम को 6 बजे 5 बजे से 6 बजे से 9 बजे तक, मैं ऐसा कहता हूँ। बट मैं एक कंडीशन डालता हूँ, कम से कम 5 लोग आएंगे तो मेरा समय आपको देना बनता है फ्री में, लेकिन एक आएगा तो चार्जेस लगेंगे। एज लाइक माय क्लाइंट, जैसे मेरे क्लाइंट आते हैं 600 रुपए पर सेशन चार्जेस पे करते हैं, 600 रुपए पर सेशन पर आवर, वैसे चार्जेस लगेंगे। कैन यू बिलीव दैट फ्रॉम 2016 only 3 groups have approached with the group of 5. 2 groups are successful in their objectives. One group vanished as the group is formed. Next, there was no group. So that is a funny thing about values. Means how strong you have a mental health. Physical health, okay, it is based on genes. But how strong the mental health you have is really a matter of understanding. And in fact, it is a matter of developing a mental health in Indians. Our mythology and our history says that in Hindus or Hindustani people are the born with the strong mindset. But now I have my own doubts. Anyway, problem in school children and remedial measures. This is a small part I will cover and then I will finish this. I have taken a lot of your time. I have taken, I think, 15 minutes more. So exceptional children, what Kirk said, child who deviates from the normal child in terms of mental characteristic, sensory abilities, neuromuscular, physical characteristics, social or emotional behavior, communication abilities, multiple handicaps to such as extent that requires modification of school practices or special educator services in order to develop to her or his maximum capacity. I must tell you, nowadays in CBSE school, I am telling you, forget about the tribal school, corporation school and state board school. Forget. In CBSE school, 40% of people are poor in communication abilities. 20% people do not develop their mental characteristics very well. 5 to 6% of people are lacking in their sensory abilities. Neuromuscular characteristics of 2 to 3% of students are poor. 2% of the people born mentally retarded in our society. And for such people, a different education system is required, a different class is required. And in fact, in many of the schools have started it. Bhavans have special classes for exceptional children. Then BKT, this school in civil line, it has a 2 classes and 2 counselor for exceptional children. Then Center Point School has a special class. Even a state board school like a Nutan Bharat school, which is teaching in lower English medium, because their principal is our psychology student. So she has special teaching. They don't have a separate class, they can't afford. So they have a special teaching group, teachers group to teach this special and exceptional children. Many times I send some of my students to teach these these children to the Nutan Bharat school, and on her request, or sometimes some people goes voluntary also. Now all this aspect, what is written by Kirk in 1972, you are going to study in unit by unit in clinical or counseling psychology next year. Learning disabilities, characters, causes, identification, and remedial measures. Learning disabilities, 3 are important: dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. For these 3, understanding symptoms of these disabilities, understanding causes, identifying disability, and taking some remedial measure is important. Nowadays, government also gives special certification for such student, and particularly in SSC examination, this student gets extra timing, 1 hour or 1.5 hour extra time they get. Mental retardation, identification, remedial measures, and effective teaching strategies. Mentally retarded schools are separate. There are around 32 schools of mentally retarded people in Nagpur district, in Nagpur Tehsil, within the boundaries of city, where it is present, that you have to search. But this much number of schools are present. बट परिस्थिति बहुत पैथेटिक है इन स्कूल की, कभी आप जाकर देखेंगे तो आपको समझ में आएगा। वहां पर साइकोलॉजिस्ट ही नहीं है उन बच्चों को समझने के लिए और उनको हैंडल करने के लिए। कुछ जगह है, कुछ जगह सोशल वर्कर है, कुछ जगह सोशल वर्कर है, कुछ जगह जो लेडीज काम कर रही हैं, जो जेंट्स काम कर रहे हैं, बहुत दिल से काम कर रहे हैं वो स्कूल्स में। लेकिन कुछ जगह बहुत पैथेटिक कंडीशन है, बिकॉज ये सब स्कूल गवर्नमेंट ने अपने पॉलिटिकल चेले चपाटों को बांटे हैं। सो अच्छा क्वालिटी आएगा इस बात की बहुत उम्मीद हम नहीं कर सकते। इसके बावजूद भी मैं कुछ स्कूल को जानता हूं, एक खापरखेड़ा में है, एक बूटी बोरी में है, जहां पर मेरे ही स्टूडेंट या अपने साइकोलॉजी के स्टूडेंट काम कर रहे हैं, अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, स्कूल अच्छी है, मैनेजमेंट भी सपोर्टिव है। एक that is not mentally retarded, that is normal school. ADHD and ASD. ADHD, autistic child, and that itself is a big unit. ADHD is called as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. ADHD के 3 important characteristics होते हैं। एक, बच्चे inattentive होते हैं, दूसरा हाइपर एक्टिव होते हैं, और तीसरा हाइपर एक्टिव, इनअटेंटिव एंड इंपल्सिव। 3 कैरेक्टर होते हैं एडीएचडी के। ऑटिस्टिक चाइल्ड्स के भी 2-3 इंपॉर्टेंट कैरेक्टर मैं आपको बता देता हूं। जो ऑटिस्टिक बच्चे होते हैं वो आंख से आंख मिला के बात नहीं करते, उनका कम्युनिकेशन का लैंग्वेज ही अलग होता है, वो हमारी बात को वैसा नहीं समझते जैसा हम उनको समझाना चाहते हैं। उनके दिमाग में जो हमने कहा वो अलग तरीके से प्रोसेस होता है, उनको अलग तरीके से समझता है। गुस्सा करने पर वो बहुत नाराज और नर्वस हो जाते हैं, फियरफुल रहते हैं, सोशल इंटरेक्शन बिल्कुल नहीं करते हैं, आइसोलेटेड रहते हैं। और ऑटिज्म अगर है चाइल्डहुड में तो वो काफी लंबे समय तक टिकता है। ऑटिस्टिक बच्चों के भी अलग अलग स्कूल होते हैं। So ADHD and autistic child, the details you can read it in your book. I have just summarized it here. So thank you very much. Thanks for patience. You have to listen to me. If you have any question, you can ask me. If no question, we'll close this. We'll discontinue.